Thank you for tuning in to Koppen with Comic. I'm Brian Koppen, and we're here with comic Amy Liszka. Amy Liszka, how the hell are you?
I'm great. How are
good.
you?
Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
It's so nice that you did so in the freezing fucking cold. And where can people find you do stand-up comedy on stage in New York City, and where can they find you online?
Okay, well, anywhere, so just book me, people.
Yes.
But you can go to my website, amyliszka.com. I have a weird last name, so I have all the domain names. So find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's all Amy Liszka, so it's AMYLISZKA.
And that's what gets you all social platforms, the unique name. Wow.
You can just find me everywhere.
And so
this is the funny thing. My email address is liszkaamy@gmail.com because when I first was trying to get a Gmail account, I used amyliszka@gmail.com.
Okay.
And this was a long time ago, and I got confused with... So I closed the account, and then when I tried to reopen it, they were like, this name's already taken. So I just opened another one, and I've never tried to find. So I was the one that took my own name, and I haven't been able to...
That is amazing.
And I haven't been able to get my own name back because I have it.
Aww.
But I'm just so lazy that I haven't figured it out. And for years, my name's been under liszkaamy@gmail.
Okay.
So now it's like,
Wow.
I should try and find it and be like, I'm Amy.
Try to prove that to Google. They'll really believe you, you know?
I know.
I want my name back. It's like, who are you? Come on.
I'm like, I'm the one that took it in the first place.
And so they can find Amy Liszka across all social platforms. And then are you doing, what are the upcoming shows that they can kind of look forward to, if any?
I'm always like at the comic strip and stuff like that. Like, I'm just around. Like, I kind of just do a lot of bar shows randomly here and there, But, I'm always kind of around autos and Phoenix, around that area and stuff like that. And if you go to the comic strip, which I love, I'm kind of there. But mostly, social media, I'll usually post, like, whatever show I'm on. So just follow me. That's like
And you post that via Twitter?
Stop it.
Instagram. Instagram.
No, Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
I need to start getting back onto Twitter.
Well, just so
I thought that was a jab because I just told you I haven't posted on Twitter for so long. I was
like, maybe she at least posts the show dates, but I know, like, usually people have their one preferred platform that's pretty current. And you're saying for you, that's Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, and only because I do post on Twitter, but only because I got a new phone and I need to link my Twitter with my Instagram and Facebook.
Okay.
And I just haven't done it yet. Like, I feel like I'm a very driven person, but when it's like, I just need to do this one link, I'm like, oh, fuck it.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to swear on a podcast?
Oh, please do.
Okay.
If you can't swear on the podcast, where can you swear?
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know about the podcast CC rules.
Oh, no. Yeah, I don't think, hopefully there is none because I'm aware of zero and it's my podcast. So just don't be fucking gratuitous as I just was, right? And so we're going to talk today about back in the past. And I think if they go to amyliszka.com, they will see that in the past you had a 2-woman show and it was called The Power of Now-ish, which I think it's a play on the book called Power of Now, maybe?
Yeah. Okay. I wrote a book about basically 2 best friends. It may or may not have mirrored my own life, Not a book, it was a play. Sorry, I wrote the great novel. No, it was a play.
Yeah, one is easier than the other, and you wrote the play.
Yeah, and it ran for a little bit, and that took a lot just to produce it and get it going and not knowing what you're doing. But there's so much that goes into a play, and then just to even find a place to do it, finding people to come. But anyways, I wrote it for me and my best friend, and basically it's just one long act. It's an hour and 90 minutes, and I just wanted it to have 2 best friends talking at a bar, and then finally coming into that crossroad. Because I feel like, especially in New York, I've met so many people where they're driven and they go, but then they find themselves doing the same thing over and over again. And then, they're exhausted. So then they go get a drink. And then are they drinking their life away? Are they, are they still trying? Have they just gotten comfortable in life?
Right.
Are you even happy with what you wanted? Have you given up the dream? So that's what the play all happens with,
And it's kind of like, what I liked about it is that you had described The Power of Now as just kind of a couple people who feel themselves being stuck.
Mm-hmm.
They feel themselves in the rut. And is there any of that like in your life that you can talk about? Like, because I think people can relate to the fact that occasionally you do find yourself in a rut. And the thing that makes a rut is repeated. You know, when you walk up and down a patch of grass in the same place over and over again, it's going to create a little trail.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the reason why you do that in the first place, though, is because you'd enjoyed walking that way. It was the shortest distance from A to B. And that's how you kind of turned it into a rut. And so because you love the thing that got you in the rut in the first place, either drinking or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
it's difficult to get out because do you even want to get out?
Yeah, I feel, oh wow, I feel like I'm on this comedy podcast and we're getting very deep right now.
I love
feel,
getting deep with comedians, like, because you guys are the most open and honest.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
what happens to a lot of people, even myself, is you don't even realize that you're stuck until you're really depressed.
Yeah.
And then you're like, why am I depressed?
This rut is no longer working for me even the way it used to.
Yeah. And then you're like, well, how do I change it? How do I get to the next step? What did I do wrong? You know, and it's not like people have been just, you know, I feel like people that are very driven too and that do things with their life daily and are exhausted find themselves in a rut. And you're like, how am I just stuck? I'm not like on my mom's couch, you know?
Yeah, I'm a slave to my schedule now, though.
Yeah.
Even though it's of my own making, I'm a slave to the grind that I made.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel like for me, what has worked best for me, because you're talking to someone who's read way too many self-help books.
Good.
You know?
I love that.
And I literally, because I've read too many self-help books, one day I walked into my job that I had for like 12 years and I just quit. I didn't like quit and leave. I gave them a month's notice.
Okay, good.
But I didn't have a plan, even though that's what I told my mom. Because she was like, that's your money.
I got a plan.
Yeah. And I and it was like a high-paying job because it was a high-end waiting tables job. And it was like, you know, you feel like you're a slave to the golden handcuffs. It's like, and I was at a great restaurant where they were giving me my schedule that I wanted. I worked maybe 3 nights a week.
The best nights with the best tips.
I mean, they weren't the best nights because I wanted my schedule to be more open for comedy.
Oh, cool.
So I basically took, I worked out a deal. But either way, this has been going on for too long. And I was just like, I can't, if I'm going, because, you know, you find yourself at a certain age and you're like, who have I shown for it? And I'm like, well, I've spent so many years just making money. And then I just decided if I'm going to make money doing anything, I at least want to enjoy how I'm making it, you know. So I'm now making very little money, but I'm enjoying it.
Which is comedy?
Yes, sure.
And so, but yeah, the main gig, like the day gig you have now or whatever, the thing paying the bills, is it still set up where it's going to be conducive to your comic schedule?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what I do now is I teach ESL online, which is English as a second language, and I teach it to you know, Chinese people, and I don't need to know Chinese. They just want to have a conversation with you.
Oh, cool.
Because they want our accent. That's the main thing.
They're stealing our accent. Wow.
But you know, it's crazy though because I'm talking to these little kids. I'm constantly looking into China every day. The coronavirus is real. The kids in China, they literally have not left their apartment for 2 months.
Oh, no.
I mean, some of them, they'll go outside or not, but they're not going to school. Every day I start the conversation, did you stay home today? You know, like trying to say it in the most positive way possible.
And also it's so funny, though, that they can't just stay home and do nothing. They have to stay home and still get better and get better at the English language. Like, that's still the priority. It's like, if the world does not explode, we're still going to make sure we take all the English challenges.
I know. It's crazy how those kids work so much. It really made me feel, once I started kind of teaching, realize of how much of a dick I was to all my teachers growing up. And I didn't mean it towards them. I was like, you know, I was horrible, and I didn't even realize it. But I really regret it, like 20 years later.
And like, do you think that your ability to communicate on stage is helping you at all? Like, are you just a good communicator, and so it's easy to communicate even with less than thrilled children who are Chinese?
I think so, because a lot of times, I mean, they're kids, so they're kids. Some of them are amazing, some of them are great, some of them I'll get, and they're just like they can't. They're just over it. You know, some of them are just in a bad mood. So a lot of times when I get a kid that doesn't want to learn, I just joke with them the whole time, or I'll just like, you know, this sounds mean, but it helps a lot. I'll start mocking like how they're treating me. Like I'm like, I'm like, why are you with the mumble? Like
That's cool. Yeah, it lets them know how they're coming off. Like they think they're coming off cool, but if you're just being mumbled at by an adult, you're like, oh, I sound like that.
Yeah. So you know, you know, I don't think I've had crazy kids yet, but yeah, I do have enough. It's kind of like Tinder that the parents like swipe for what teacher they want to find, and I have enough followers now that this is true.
She's nailing the ESL market.
I kind of choose what kids I like because they follow you and you can teach them over and over and over again.
Good.
So a lot of times I have my schedule set up to only kids that I like.
Wow.
And if a kid has given me too much of a problem, I just like, I'm not available that day.
It's so cool because you kind of done the same thing when you were working in a restaurant. You got the perfect schedule that was conducive to the thing you like, and now you're getting into the new rut that you like. You know, you're like, I'm starting to make my choices and have the power. Yeah.
I like this job, but am I getting stuck again? Yeah. Like, am I just getting stuck?
Well, I think at some point, you know, if you get depressed and you're like, this is no longer working for me, you'll just move on. It sounds like even after 12 years, you give them a month notice and you're out of there.
Yeah.
And so does any of this kind of stuff it sounds like the coronavirus bit is gold. You know, is anything else like this making its way into
By the way,
stage
this is true. Sorry, this is true. I had a really bad cold when I'm teaching these kids.
Okay.
I felt so bad even coughing in front of them. It's like a big slap in the face when I was like, excuse me, I'm coughing. And they're like, and like, even though we're like, you know, so far away.
They're around the world and you're scaring them with your cough through the Skype or whatever. Do you do it via Skype?
Yeah, via Skype.
Are they wearing masks?
Not in their house, but
they should be.
When they go out, they should be.
They should be, because Dad's probably bringing it home. Like I imagine everybody in the household is not staying home all day.
Well, I've seen. They are. They are.
Everybody.
Well,
even there has to be a breadwinner who leaves, right?
No. So how they're doing it, and I've talked to other people, and these are all facts that I've heard from other people. Nothing, you know. That's how I get all my facts.
I trust you more than most when it comes to China these days.
Yeah, thank you.
I trust Amy Liszka, and that's it. Nobody else.
So they don't. It's especially depending on where you're at, you know. But they are basically, the parents aren't working. They're supposed to just be in the house. And I was talking to another comic from China who's there all the time. She's just basically over here. And she talks to her parents and all that stuff. But people will actually, if they see you outside, will like kind of bring you back into their apartment and lock the door on you.
Oh my gosh.
So, but also I do hear kids where they'll say, oh, I went to the store today. I went to the park today. So depending on where you live, but they're not working. The parents aren't working. The kids are not going to school. What the kids are doing now is that they're Skyping with all their teachers. Like all the kids are Skyping with one teacher, like the whole classroom is, and they're learning that way. Okay. And then for how they're getting their food is just the community is dropping off food right now. Wow. But their economy is suffering right now. Yeah. It's not.
I imagine you'd have to telecommute. You know, in order to work at all, you would have to do it via phone and your computer and things like that. And that's the one thing they said in the economy that might do well during coronavirus is things like Skype that allows you to work from home. Mm-hmm. Like those stocks may be immune. But is any of this stuff making its way into your show when they come see you at Comic Strip?
Yeah.
Coronavirus stuff? It should. It's pretty topical, so it sounds like you have the job to make you the expert on funny. On coronavirus funny, right?
Yeah, I think so. The main thing is that definitely after talking to these kids for so long, because I've been doing it for a year now, it's like I'm more supportive of communism than I ever thought of because I'm not. I'm American. I'm not. It's a joke, but I mean, I feel like they get so much stuff done just because opinions are like assholes. It's like everyone has an opinion, then all of a sudden you end up with Donald Trump, or all of a sudden you end up with Brexit, or however you say it. Yeah, it's just like China. You have the coronavirus. They just lock you into your apartment, and that's that. And they're gonna. Yeah. You know what? I swear, if the coronavirus would have broken out in the United States, it would have gone on for years. This thing's going to be done with in China, I swear, like within the next 3 months. They're like, we're wiping it out.
Wow. Yes, sometimes authoritarianism could help when it comes to an epidemic. Because somebody like Trump, I think, because of the change of the administrations, he fired everybody from the whole Obama crisis management team, people who had experience. And now he's putting Mike Pence in charge. And it's like there's probably nobody less qualified than somebody who doesn't believe in science.
I mean, why not? Why not?
I've
never had so much hope of working in the White House until
Yes, I really think you can. You could be our Chinese liaison, right?
Of course. I'm like, I do ESL. I talk to these kids all the time.
And so if they want to see where you're doing it next, they'll check you out on Instagram and Facebook because that's the most frequently updated.
Yes.
And that's Amy Liszka.
And my website too, amyliszka.com, which I do need to update.
And there can they find, I mean, they'll find information about the power of Now Wish, but did it make its way into some consumable content? Like, did you film the play? Did you kind of type up the screenplay where people can read it?
I also copywrote it. Yeah,
cool.
I copywrote it, and I did make a film of it, but so far the film is just for myself.
Okay.
I do want to produce it again, but I did get into writing, and I even wrote another play.
Okay.
But it's just I feel like I'm a jack of all trades but master of nothing. But I do write a lot and I direct a lot and stuff like that. So I was with a writing group for a little bit. So I feel like I am going to produce it again.
Okay.
When?
Yeah, because it sounds like even the not nowish, but whenish.
Whenish.
Like it sounds like even the 2-person play was difficult enough to produce.
It was because just making sure that everyone is getting the right respect and I did it the most because it was my first show. Okay. So I did the most cheapest way where it's like I had me and my best friend. I basically directed. I had her husband direct us, and then. That's my phone. Or is that you?
It'll be one of us. I'm not gonna guess as to who.
I thought I turned it off.
But that is so fine because
is
it's comedy. That's comedy right there.
I don't even know where.
That's Amy Liszka. She didn't get her Gmail back because she had already taken her own Gmail. And she was like, I was going to turn off my phone, but I'm lazy, so fuck it.
It's my alarm.
She's like, yeah, we're going over time. My alarm says so.
No, I'm joking.
But with that, you can find all her hilarious comedy just about, leaving her phone on and being so lazy that she took her own Gmail thing.
I'm the worst person in the world. You never want to hang out with me.
Except we want to see you on stage, though, because this stuff is funny on stage. Like even the coronavirus thing, it sounds like you have your finger on the pulse of what's going on in China, and nobody else does.
Yeah.
Nobody else does. Nobody's making it to the White House except Amy Liszka.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I have no idea what represents that, but I'm gonna represent the coronavirus.
She's repping coronavirus. Thank you so much, Amy Liszka.
Thank you.
Stay well. Don't get it.
I won't. I hope not.